nights ago over in Schuyler, and it's a place where my family has originated, spent a lot of time, had a lot of careers began there back in the early 1900s, and that's a piece of history that I really cherish. I had a couple conversations, and one was with someone who was retired, and they brought up the burden of not only what they were experiencing with water and sewer costs, but also realizing what it means when taxes go up. And what in this community, taxes are not equal to all people. If you've realized in the last couple of years that your home value went up 50%, that's a tax increase. And that's a real thing. There are some parts of this community that didn't see that jump. They saw a 20%, they saw a 15%, they saw a 10%. And that person who saw that 40, 50% jump, I had explained, I said, this is tough, this is hard. This isn't that 20-year cycle you were thinking. It's like all of a sudden, bam, when COVID hit and the world kind of changed. We as a board need to be, of course, being as fiscally responsible as we can and looking to the future and how we can support jobs to come to this community that can support not only, just their home, but to support their families. People are having to make the decisions of if they want to move back to Nelson County, of how soon will they be able to start their family. And that's a sad story that I've got to see with a lot of my friends growing up and those who are still trying to move here. Looking into the future, we need to start asking ourselves the hard question of how it is that we can take care of those who are struggling the most. And of course, we got another vote right after this about how much we're looking at doing for relief. And I hope this board will look at increasing that percentage. But today, I believe the best decision this board can make is to bring this rate back down to 65 cents.
The toughest budget we have to deal with on our end is the school budget. And that is something that I am very strong about, making sure that we fund our schools at the level that we need to. My group come up, we were privileged to have the funding there, and I think we deserve to give these kids coming up today the same type of support. I'm ready to go ahead, Jeff. And I'll come back.
Motion that we increase the real estate tax by a penny. And I stand by that. The reason that I did this was not because we had a very clear budget with very clear revenues and very clear expenses. It was done in response to a over $1 million change in the amount of money that we receive from the state. It would not make sense to make a large increase in the tax rate to try to make that up, clearly. The smallest amount that we could do would be to try to make up a quarter of that, in my thinking. So I suggested a penny increase in that. I think anyone who thinks that it is other than a modest increase, I think would be mistaken. And yes, if our fortunes glow in the following years, we will create a tax rate that will match that budget. But the county and the schools have both set a goal, which is to give a 3% cost increase to their employees. And I don't see how that could be possible without some increase in revenues to do it. And the reason is that up until this point, as has been said, the board has set itself on a goal to have enough debt service and reserves to be able to do the things that we have projected that we need and would like to do. While I'm not opposed to that plan, it's something that we've been building on as long as I've been sitting on the board. It is true that if we should decide that that is not a priority of the board, then revenues would be available that could go to pay some of the expenses which we are committed to doing. And those are services to our sheriff's department, to our fire and rescue department, to the schools, and to the employees of the county and the school. The largest employer in this county, the body that is responsible for the greatest number of workers in this county, is the county. It's our administration and our schools. And when you put that together, an investment back into the community, almost 80% of the expenses in schools go directly into people's pockets, with all the expenses that go along with it. But yes, it is dedicated to salaries. So, if I was building a future for Nelson County, I would build a future where the people who are living and working in the county have more means. And the largest employer in the county being the county, it makes sense to me that we do everything we can to keep those people with a cost of living increase that will allow them to better than survive. And that's the most important thing for me. There are other things that we can do, granted. We have proposals, as Ms. Ligon, Dr. Ligon set out, and that's pretty accurate. But one of the things that the debt service does is it gives us an opportunity to borrow money if we choose to, and invest money if we choose to. And the county has properties that could be invested in for the benefit of the county. And perhaps, you know, the needs of the county are clearly connected to housing and employment.
I ask the board to consider other taxes or enforcing the taxes we already have. Look at taxes that the state allows counties to impose and diversify the income. So far, it is clear that my singular voice is not enough to sway this board and the plans that have been set in motion. Please stay informed. Please understand that the money that has been proposed to be spent, I'm sure this has brought light to the money and has to come from somewhere. In Nelson, the majority of the money comes from property owners, which seems quite unfair. One citizen came to me and said it was not up to me to save Nelson County by taking from the property owners, and I agree, but you all need to know and need to stay aware of the spending that is proposed in the next few years. Thank you.